Just on Cleo, going to move her around to a mooring that's right next to where she's going to get hauled out. Not sure how well she's going to sail because it has a lot of growth on the bottom. I'm going to get both the sails up and back down just to make sure everything works, and then I'm going to do this. We're only going very, very slowly because of all the growth at the bottom. Wonderful about a tack. In any case, I just have to get under the bridge so it's downwind. Can barely sail it. We are not moving fast and it's hardly responding to the rudder. Driving was hard, let alone tacking. Got the mainsail down, so at least sail downwind without a lot of weather help. I'll figure out. I just dropped anchor. That's the all-purpose plan B when you're engineless. I'm now going to figure out what mooring it was meant to be. Hopefully it was that one. Maybe I'll just put it on that one anyway.
In the morning I paddled out a line and then warped myself over to the cradle and pulled the boat out. There was a lot of mussels on it. There's no fancy machinery in this yard, just a bunch of old guys that know how to use levers. This boatyard has a pretty good view. Although this looks pretty healthy, I was required by the local council to take this to the landfill. It cost $120 to dispose of about 300 kilograms.
It's a beautiful day for closing some through holes. It was a hole in the boat. There's not really much gunk on it. Kind of surprised it didn't leak. That was the through hole fitting, but now it's going to be sealed. I had to grind that one off. It was just too inaccessible to get the clamp on it. Just been scraping the bottom. The cover tipped hand scraper. Very, very close to having finished half of the boat. It's real fun. Definitely a real fun job. You should, by the time you see this, I'll be finished, but if you could have been here, you could have had a go.
Why have a hole in your boat? I decided to just remove all of the thread.
It's quite impressive just how thick the hull is. That's doing this well below the waterline. It's like that. It's like 10 mils thick. It's pretty thick. It's way thicker than I would have guessed.
Just ground the hole back around the hole to make it feathered, and then just gloss into it.
Oh, that's really good. That's exactly what I wanted. Seems flat enough. Not perfect.
Conventional boats like this usually have through-hole fittings for water intakes for the toilet and engine cooling, but those can sink your boat, so why have them?
I'm replacing these hatches, which I think aren't very good, with these hatches, which are more expensive, but I think a much better design. First of all, the lid completely covers the join, so water that lands on top won't be directed towards the join, whereas with this, water that lands on top will just go straight in there, and then that depends. These have to be, what I found is mounted really flat, because if there's any twist, like this corner here, that's loose. Is that pushing enough on the gasket? I don't think so. Okay, taking this back up and looking at the sealant and how easy it just came up. Not surprised that it leaks now. The sealant doesn't look like it was hardly touching anything at all. And this bit where the sealant should have been, doesn't seem to be any sealant there. So I would reserve this kind for mounting vertically, because then the water would run out. Also, these handles break quite easily. Like, you open it and you have to go all the way around, and then you can close it again. Yeah, you can buy those for $10 to replace them, but like, you're going to need to replace them. Whereas this one, better. I would prefer, though, if the handle was actually came up and there wasn't a pull here for the water to collect, because that's just going to sit against the O-ring and maybe that will drip. This hole is going to need to get slightly larger, and that hole is going to get slightly smaller. This hatch is almost ready now. So I have a piece of plywood that's glued on. So any rainwater hits that, it doesn't even reach the ceiling. So it's just an extra caution. And there you can see the bit where I made the hole a bit smaller. So that's just waiting for the rest of the boat to catch up, and I'll at least put some primer on it. So the other advantage of putting the plywood here is it gave me a chance to ensure the surface was a lot more flat. I think that little bit of wiggle will be okay. Weird thing, there's some sort of sticky goop here. It seems to come down from here. That I think is osmosis. Now, never really noticed this boat having an osmosis problem, but now that I've got all of the antifouling off, I can see that it had historic osmosis repairs. That was osmosis. A little bit more grinding.
Osmosis is a problem that you get on old fiberglass boats where sometimes water can seep into infections in the fiberglass. I'm just going to grind it out and put more fiberglass in there. This boat is 46 years old, so a little bit of osmosis to fix is not really a big problem in the scale of things.
No 3-hole fittings. It's cockpit drain that just goes straight through to the cockpit, so it's still outside the boat. Just bought a fresh pack, 24 litres of epoxy, $682. Bought direct from the manufacturer, the local manufacturer. Adhesives Technology Limited. They make the epoxy under license from the system. So at this price, works out $28 per litre, $20 New Zealand per litre, including sales tax, which on the 33mm pump system is 85 cents per pump. Now, if you buy this proportion, this size from retail from Burnsco, it works out $1 a pump. But if you buy it in a 1 litre pack, if you buy one litre and a 200ml hardener pack, that's $100, which is 1.2 litres, which comes out as $2.50 per pump. But if you buy in bulk like this from the manufacturer, 85 cents per pump, so that's like 3 times cheaper. Put the new floor in. It's going to be both strong, and if any water lands there, it can go straight into the bottom
and be pumped out.
That spot on the left used to have plywood there, and water was inside of it, just stuck there, no way to get it out really. New floor supports on both sides. The beginnings of a floor. Started sealing the floor. This one needs to dry out a little bit. It's the first coat of epoxy on the top of the floor. She looks pretty good.
The floor is in 3 parts, so you can lift it for inspection.
The corner of the cockpit here, when you're sailing hard at like 25 knots, that will fill up with water. You'll be heeled over and there'll be a pool of water there. And then that leaks into the hatch, and then that had I'm going to fix that leak too. But I'm going to add a cockpit drain here that will then go up the back. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to drill a hole, and then I've got some copper tube. I'm going to stick that through the hole, and then I'm going to fiberglass into the back of the hole so the tube is like stuck into the hole and right in the corner, and then attach a tube off that.
I didn't want to use a plastic skin fitting because there wasn't one that could go right in the corner.
Just that this sort of comes up here, and there's this crack, and then I saw this, very good thing. It's a good thing to discover when the boat's out though. Basically means I need to take this thing off, have a look underneath. There's a bolt up there, which doesn't look too bad, but this part is clearly having a big problem. So I was telling my friend about my forestay problem here, and he was like, oh no, it's okay because it's going to make a really great video. Well, you are now watching that video. So I already did the stern chainplate.
Yes, it is seeping a little bit of rust. The plates might be 304 stainless instead of 316.
It was actually under here with the same kind of thing, but I switched to 2 chainplates and a little V thing, which was just easier. I didn't have a battery-powered angle grinder then.
I also installed these inspection ports so you can do up the nuts. And
yeah, this is what the stern one looks like.
Yeah, also completely falling apart, but there's no stress on this anymore.
But it doesn't matter because it's the side now.
So this is all going to come out.
If you want to get into sailing cheaply, old fiberglass production boat is definitely the cheapest, both in terms of purchase price and lack of not needing fiberglass. Definitely the lowest maintenance and easiest to do as well. But it might be a good idea to make sure that it doesn't have these kind of glassed-in chain plates. The side stay chain plates on this boat are totally good. Massive. Come into the bulkhead. Don't have any problem with those. You want one like this. That external plate. This is the only other boat in the yard that doesn't have an external chain plate on the bow. At least I'm not alone. Borrowed a socket set from the tool library. So I've got some movement. It's nearly loose now. There we go. So this single bit of threaded rod is what holds the forestay on a Re-126. So everything went through this, it looks like M12, that's under tension. The bolt is back here, and the actual point of the forestay attachment is up here, so that's pulling back this way. See how much further forward it is? So this whole thing is actually trying to peel it up, and it's being held down further back, so it's actually like levering on this. Not a very good design, I think. Not like structurally a good design. And you can see that bolt's bent as well, which is why it would have like lifted up slightly. The bolt still has integrity, and that has to resist the leverage. Yeah, that explains sort of why it peeled up. Also because there's a steel thing under there that of course has gone. Okay, looks like there's still some good steel. So that part was still good. It's still relatively solid, but this part clearly completely fucked. And because the thing has like a bending moment on it, well, if the back's not good, it's it's going to fail. Look at that liquid. It's actually water behind it. That was still solid. Oh, that had a hole behind it. Got a void around that.
So I'm not really sure what they were thinking when they designed it like this. I think they weren't actually doing it the cheap way, because it's topped by a custom brass casting, which is going to be expensive.
New chainplates. $24.73.
I'm going to replace it all with a through-bolted stainless steel strap.
Okay.
Go with it. Just put pressure on to make sure it cuts, so that it doesn't
heat up.
Right. And once it work hard, you're fucked.
And I should use some cutting fluid.
Yeah, anything on there. I've even used water. One guy said you can just use water. It doesn't matter. It's like just because all you're trying to do is keep it cool.
Oh yeah.
But some sort of cutting fluid should be alright.
This is a cold bolt drill bit. Cost only $12.
This is all ready to go, but I need to build a bend 120-degree angle into that. There we go. That's it. Now that I see how thick the hull is there, I don't think I needed to reinforce it at all. I just suffered the indignity of going to both Mitre 10 and Bunnings, trying to find some washers. Both of them were out of M10 washers. And the website said that they had them. So perhaps it's shrinkage. That means people have been stealing washers. Can't say that I blame them. Well, so after all that, I called this place, LA Fasteners, and told them my situation, and they gave me free. Oh, good guys. Definitely not making the mistake of ever going to buy bolts from Bunnings or Mitre 10 again. I'm just going straight to LA Fasteners.
Just dry fitting the new chain plates. Once I'm happy with how it fits, I can bolt it and glue it without extra filling.
Next, I should take it into the workshop so I can weld this.
This is the support for the pulpit. The pulpit is just bolted through. It seemed a funny way to do it, but that's how it was done before.
So what I'm going to try is this cardboard, and I'll have polythene over it so it doesn't stick to the cardboard. And then I'll do wet out some double bias, stick that all in, with polythene, peel ply, double bias, epoxy that in.
For patches like this, I like to wet out the fiberglass on a table and then take it to where it's going to go. And polythene is great so it doesn't stick to the epoxy. So you can pick it up and move the whole thing, and you can keep your hands clean. Now that it's gone hard, I can add more layers.
totally solid. This is now 3 layers of triaxial and 2 layers of double bias and a layer of boat cloth. So I think it's strong enough.
High density filler on this one. That's the chain plate glued and bolted in.
This is the working jib. You'll notice this very large, quite large repair. That's heavy duty tarpaulin, and I hand sewed it on both sides. I actually did that repair while I was on a passage. I tore that sail, not because of the wind, but because I had jammed the sail under the spinnaker pole, and then I tried to raise the sail using the winch because I'd forgotten about the pole. Totally my fuck up. Put a big tear in the sail. Sewed it back together. But I did a pretty good job, and not only did the repair last the rest of the trip, the rest of the passage, but up the other side, it's, it is, apart from looking, obviously, by hand, it's a good repair. The sail is still a good sail. It's just a bit worn from where it has rubbed against the lines when it tacks, such as up here. That was an attempt to repair with some shower curtain. Obviously not good enough. I'm going to fix that today.
On the home stretch now, I just need to get the antifouling in.
Scraped, sanded, and wiped several times. Filled through holes and osmosis and any nicks, walker bites. And now I'm ready for primer.
A bit long time coming. It was a big relief to finally be putting paint on the boat. So I painted primer on the hull, and then I realised I used the wrong hardener. I used the polyurethane hardener, not the epoxy hardener, which is about the dumbest thing I could have done. I looked it up, and epoxy hardener and polyurethane hardener are like totally different chemicals. Yeah, so I was pretty sick of sanding and shit like that, and now I probably have to remove it. Will it even go hard enough to sand off?
So after painting the hull under waterline, I realised I made this mistake. Epoxy primer, polyurethane. It's not the same thing. It's not going to work. I looked it up, it's like totally different chemistry. Is it going to go hard? Is it going to be sandable? Probably not. If this worked, that's what they would make the epoxy hardener. So the first option, of course, is don't tell anyone. Just put the primer, just put the antifouling over it. But it's probably not going to stick very well or come off or something like that. It's tempting, but I think the right thing is remove it and do it right. I don't know if it's going to go hard enough to sand off. I'm going to go to the shop and just get tons of acetone and a vapor mask. The good news is it's coming off. Wipe on some acetone and then scrape it.
Nobody in the boatyard laughed at me, and several people told me stories of times they had incorrectly mixed paint. That made me feel a lot better.
If you had told me when I woke up this morning that this evening I would be hurriedly removing paint from my boat, I don't think I would have believed you. Maybe I would have just gone back to bed, which wouldn't have been a bad move, actually. I'm happy with the progress. It's actually gone pretty hard. Maybe it would have been okay, but it's off now.
It took me a few extra days of scraping and sanding, but I redid everything and anti-fouled it, and now it looks good. I didn't do the top sides because I think it's better not to paint than to do a rush job.
This is a 30mm ball bearing. It's going to be the pin tool on my U-low. And as you see, I'm standing in front of the metal lathe. That's because I'm going to drill a hole into this and then weld it onto some threaded rod. This is my scaling oar. This bad boy can push the boat along at 1.5 knots. Maybe more now that the bottom's clean.
I hate that I painted it white, but things last a lot longer painted. Previously I just had it sealed with epoxy and that slowly wore off in the sun over several years.
This bag is all the old antifoul. This gives you some idea of how heavy it is.
There's probably 10 years
like
of antifoul.
15-20 kilos.
After 6 weeks of pretty grueling work, it was time to get back in the water. I would like to thank everyone that made this project possible or helped in some way. Firstly, Northcote and Birkenhead Boat Owners Association, Alexi, Mark, and Mark, Allied Fasteners, Auckland Library of Tools, Tom and Amanda, and especially Ori, Pete, and Hackland. And you, dear viewer, for commenting on this video.
Okay, floating again. Thought it would be a good idea to check that no water was coming in. The bilge is dusty. That's how I want it. It's still total chaos on there. Time to finish everything, almost everything I wanted to do, but no time to tidy up. But it's okay, back in the water. Going sailing. Definitely been spoiled by that catamaran because this is not as fast as my catamaran. Well, the boat's back on the mooring. It's a relief. I'm actually just going to leave it like this for a couple of weeks because I'm just about to go on another adventure, and I don't need this stuff for it, so it'll be safe. It'll be safe here. Now, you may be wondering, what adventure could I possibly be going on that doesn't require all my boat building tools? Well, you will see